Hi, my name is Erin and this is my persuasive speech opposing argument. These are my note cards. Did you know that millions of kids in America want to be an athlete when they grow up? Well, it's true. And a study done by Forbes in 2015 showed that 16% of kids want to be a professional athlete over any other career. And so many people dream about living their dreams and pursuing the sport they love simply because they love it. And sports have the power of bringing so many people together and connecting so many people. For example, maybe you watch football with your dad on Sunday, or maybe you're a diehard Ravens fan, or maybe your family loves watching March Madness together. Whatever it is, sports has always been a way that we can connect. But what if sports weren't like that? Sports weren't about passion and weren't about connectedness. It was just about a paycheck. Well, that's what's happening in sports. It's becoming about money and greed. And it's becoming a big business. And the way that is starting is with the purchase of athletes, basically. It's starting a lot with paying college athletes. So college athletes should not be paid. It begins to corrupt the sport itself, and it impacts the broader community overall. And you should care about this because it's not only affecting the young college athletes, it's affecting everyone who goes to school with them and the broader sports community in general. The major two reasons that we should not pay college athletes is because the economic repercussions that will come from it on the athletes and the students, and then and also the value it takes away from education. So paying college athletes would not only negatively affect the athletes financially, but it would also affect all of the other students going to that university. So first of all, one of the main reasons that they participate in the athletics is the educational opportunities that come from it. And many students go to college on a scholarship. So the scholarship is so important so they can pay for their education. But if they were considered employees of the university and being paid, they would be subject to taxation. So that means some of their paycheck would be taken away and given to taxes. And this is shown in Eastern Washington University's article in 2020, College Athletes Should Not Be Paid, saying that depending on how much they're paid, it would be high enough to the point where they don't earn anything or they don't get the money to pay for their full schooling. This would force a lot of students to not only not be able to finish their college career, but also they would be looking at who is paying the highest amount and going to the highest bidding university, as opposed to looking at what the university has to offer them educationally and in general. And realistically, colleges can't afford this anyways. In a New York Times article by Cody McDavis, 24 out of 350 colleges in the NCAA Division I ended up generating revenue. Only 24 out of 350 colleges actually made a profit. And that's because the money brought in is going towards student tuition, maintenance, everything the sports programs needs, as well as going to smaller sports programs who aren't generating a revenue. So this would not only impact the athletes, but the students who are participating in programs that can no longer be sustained because more money is going to recruitment and football and basketball so we can stay competitive. This is shown a lot in the Point Counterpoint, Paying College Athletes, published in the Sports Journal. And they talked about how smaller sports that don't have a lot of popularity or generate revenue would end up being eliminated completely. And it's not fair to completely take away a group of students' academic and non-academic opportunities just to support football and basketball. And that leads me to what paying a college athlete would take away from them. It would take away a lot of their educational opportunity, and it also takes away from what the university has to offer as a whole. So the overall reason that they are attending this college is for education, and it ends up taking away from their education. They're student athletes with an emphasis on student first. The NCAA always preaches their student athletes, students first, but that does not seem to be reflected. In an article by Eastern Washington University, they did a study in 2018 showing that student athletes were achieving less academically and were also less prepared for college. So giving them a monetary incentive would take more time and energy away from their education because they're having to keep up with things like endorsements because they're allowed to be paid for their name and image and likeness. So they would be focusing even less time on their education and more on focusing on being a good employee. And if that's not convincing enough, you in the book, The System, The Glory and Scandal of Big Time College by Jeff Benedict, he shows the kind of behind the scenes for mostly football and showing how the athletes gain so much more than an education from the university. They're offered amenities that other people aren't offered. They're given academic leniency. They have a leg up against other people who didn't go to Division I colleges for professional purposes. Like if they're going to pro sports, they have that Division I college experience. And they also have private tutoring, a lot of opportunities that other students aren't given to succeed. And I think that's a big thing that should be noted. And despite all of this, some still argue that student athletes deserve compensation for their time and dedication, which is true. They do deserve something for their time and dedication because they're hard workers. It's not an easy thing to do. But that doesn't need to be a monetary incentive because they're receiving scholarships, which are monetary. But they also, as we said before, are receiving all those amenities and all of those extra things that students don't have access to further their education. And one of the major arguments is in Seattle Journal for Social Justice in 2017. And they say that they're basically working a full-time job with the amount of hours they put in. And yeah, it is kind of like a full-time job. But it's for the opportunity for education. That's what's in exchange for it. They signed up to essentially work for that job, not for money, but for opportunity. And think of it as an internship. Like, yes, you're not getting paid, but the doors it opens and the options it provides for you makes it worth your time. So, to recap, I hope you have a better understanding of why college athletes should not be paid. And this is not only for the college athletes, but the thousands of students who would be affected by this and the corruption it would cause in sports in general. We must not forget that the reason we all love sports is because it brings us together and people are pursuing their passion. So let's not let money ruin the things that we truly love.